into Garza Law Extra Innings here on the Tony Basilio array of platforms. Wherever you're joining us, we appreciate you. Tennessee drops its 5th straight SEC series. Extra Innings is presented by the Garza Law Firm, online at garzalaw.com. 865-200-5402 TLD Logistics Hotline. We're live after every SEC series, which is now in the rearview mirror. So now I will be with you from today on after every single Tennessee baseball game in Hoover and postseason, however that looks. That's the TLD Logistics Hotline, 865-200-5402. tclub.team, X Spaces, Twitch, and YouTube. I am Will Heflin. It is a Saturday, May 17th. The VIP Play app is live as of this week. Sign up, get your welcome bonus. You got to bet $5, get $100 in bonus. You can use Tony's promo code. That's TN Tony. Or you can use mine, TNVIPS. And Tony says, don't you dare use his. I don't really care one way or another.
Team player, baby.
I'm a team player. Tennessee's got some team players, but it wasn't enough today. Not saying they didn't have enough team players. I'm saying the players on the team didn't quite have enough. Boy, oh boy. You know, it's hard to be disappointed after losing 2 out of 3 at Baum Stadium, because the win that they did get was the first win under Tony Vitello in that stadium, which is, you know, it's towards the bottom of the list of accomplishments because that guy's had so many, but it is something he hadn't done before, so you can't go too long in a season without Tony Vitello doing something he hadn't done before. But, you know, the obvious elephant in the room when we're discussing this series is that you won Game 1 with Marcus Phillips, and everybody, including myself and Tony, I'll put my hand up, I was jumping in the boat. I was like, holy smokes, look what they've done. They went out there and beat Arkansas with their ace on the mound in Root, who is really good. Tennessee had a great plan for him. Phillips controlled the run game. They won that game, and then you're going into Game 2 feeling so good. So good. You got Liam Doyle on the mound and a chance to win that game, and that all but locks up hosting a regional. I mean, no doubt about it, because you look around the country and teams that were in that similar discussion, kind of fighting for jockeying for position going into this weekend, they all lost, including Tennessee. They all lost. West Virginia was projected the 16 headed into this weekend. They played horrible against Kansas. Alabama's about to lose the series against Florida, barring a massive comeback. They were down 9-2 when I pulled into the Raymere studio, so I'm assuming that Florida's going to hang on there. Arizona, a couple weeks ago, was right in that mix. They lost a stinker series to Utah that really crushed their RPI. That was at home. And then you look at the West Coast, and Irvine was in good position to host a regional, and they're trying to avoid a sweep today against Fullerton. So, you know, just the final weekend of not handling business for anybody in contention. But, you know, now Tennessee sits, they finished the regular season at 16-14 in league play. That's right on the edge. What hurts Tennessee is you lost the last 5. What helps Tennessee is you have the head-to-head against the 2 teams that are going to end up likely in the same position as you, and that's Alabama, who's going to be 16-14 unless they come back from 9-3 now. You have that head-to-head in their home park, and then Ole Miss is going to finish 16-14. I think they already have. I think they did drop Game 3 to Auburn, but they won that series. but they'll be 16-14. Tennessee beat them at home as well. So you look at it, and it's really up to the committee at what they value more. Do they value the head-to-head series? 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago for the head-to-head when Tennessee played those two teams. Ole Miss was about 5 weeks ago. Alabama a little longer. Or do you value who's playing better as of late? Because Tennessee has had the longest drought of winning a series against those teams. So, there's about 6 locks in the SEC in terms of hosting. Will they get 7? Will they get 8? I don't know. I do know that Tennessee can help themselves in Hoover a ton. They go one and done in Hoover, they're probably not hosting. And that's my personal opinion. I don't have any insight there. We won't know until we see how all those other teams, including the ones I just mentioned, do in their conference tournaments, whether it's in the SEC or elsewhere. But I appreciate everyone joining, trying to wrap my head around where to go with this deal because, like I said, that is the toughest place to play in the country. So am I going to dock them that many points when you look at it from a big picture perspective to lose 2 out of 3 at Arkansas? No. When you look at the way it played out, it's disappointing. Got your hopes up after game 1. But, I think the bigger story here, and it's hard to look past this just because of where it is, doesn't excuse the fact that Tennessee has lost this many rubber matches in a row. And it's, at least this weekend was different, right? You had Phillips go game 1 and Doyle game 2, and just an unfortunate time for Doyle to get hit around a little bit and not have his best command. But you got to tip your cap to Arkansas a little bit. They came out and threw punches and got some big swings. The Tennessee offense really, for the most part, showed up this weekend, had a lot of hits. I think they out-hit Arkansas even yesterday when they ended up losing the game, but that's the difference in homers and singles, which is kind of the story of Tennessee's win on Thursday. They got the big swing. Arkansas was trying to piece it together more often. And the arms and the stuff in this league are so good that you cannot win on singles. You have to, unless you're going to manufacture, run the bases, play a little bit small ball, which neither Tennessee nor Arkansas are known for. They're both towards the bottom of the league in stolen bases and sacrifices. You got to hit the long ball. And so Arkansas hit the long ball yesterday, and they got the big swing today, which was a grand slam, and ultimately that was the difference in the game. So Tennessee drops the series finale 8-4. The highlight of the game was Brandon Arvidsson. He was phenomenal. The last pitch he threw was painted at 96. That's something to look at going forward. Maybe he gets an increased role as we head into postseason. But I'm wearing the shirt I'm wearing today, and if you're not on one of the platforms where you can see me, it's just a black collared shirt, but it's got this little logo on it that is the College World Series. That is Omaha. And that's what we've got to turn our attention to, because we're limping into the postseason. Make no bones about it. But we talked about it last week. Postseason is a total reset. It's a whole different season. And I know we have Hoover first, and that's an opportunity for Tennessee to go and play well and get feeling a little bit better about themselves. But regardless of what happens in Hoover, the weekend after next, they'll either be in their home park or a 2 seed somewhere, and it's a new season. And you've got to win. You just can't lose 2 in a row the rest of the way. So something that Tennessee hadn't been able to avoid at this point, but time and time again we've seen it where it's not the best team in college baseball that wins the championship. It's the team that gets the hottest down the stretch. I always turn back to Ole Miss in 2022. Was quite literally the last team in and won the national championship on the back of Tim Elko, who just got called up. Man, that's an easy guy to root for. Tim Elko played that year on a torn ACL. As somebody who's had ACL surgery, you tip your cap on that one. And then a couple years prior, I believe it was either 13 or 14 or maybe 12. No, I think 12 was one of the Oregon State years. But anyways, Virginia and Vanderbilt traded College World Series championships and played each other 2 years in a row in the final series. We will not see a rematch of last year's College World Series final. Texas A&M is unlikely to make the tournament at this point. But Virginia was one of the last teams in. I don't think they were going to make it in, and I think they won the ACC tournament, caught fire, and won the whole thing. So, for Tennessee, it's all about looking forward to that now. And trying to figure out how to play your best baseball in the postseason. So with that, let's take a quick break. As soon as we get to the other side of this break, I'm going to hit the phones, hear from you guys. That's 865-200-5402 TLD Logistics Hotline. We're live after every single Tennessee baseball game that is remaining. We'll be right back.
Get you back to the action here momentarily. It's Garza Law Extra Innings, presented by Marcos Garza and your Garza Law
Click the
firm.
intro
Online
again.
at GarzaLaw.com. Marcos and his team are your go-to law firm for a myriad of disciplines. When it comes to DUI defense, criminal defense, personal injury, Social Security, or disability, you want to deal with folks that are of, by, and for our community. People that you will see in Lindsey Nelson Stadium when the Vols are playing baseball the rest of the spring and into the summer. Treating clients like family. Don't you dare trust anybody else. Available 24/7 at GarzaLaw.com. Also presented by our friends at VIP Play. 200 leagues to wager on. All your favorite types of bets. The Eagle, ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Tennessee has landed, and the betting space will never be the same. Whether it's VIP Players Club sweepstakes offered monthly, whether it's Bet Assured in Tennessee or the VIP Guarantee, you got to check it out and see what Will Heflin is talking about, because I'm telling you, this man continues to get up, get in here, and do this program. So go over to VIP Play and give VIP Play a shot. Use the promo code TNTony when you do it. Again, TNTony. Bet $5 or more. You'll get your $100 bonus bet instantly. TNTony. Gambling problem? 800-889-9789. 21 and over, and located in the state of Tennessee to place a bet. Of course, Will Heflin has a baseball problem, but that's another story for another day. Also, a special shout out today to our friends at Rather and Kittrell. RKCapital.com. Start planning your future today at RKCapital.com. Personalized financial planning, disciplined investment strategy, ongoing guidance and partnership. RK Capital can help you in so many ways. And we're also presented by our friends at Calhoun's. Calhoun's, your taste of Tennessee. Leave the cooking to us all baseball season long. When you're getting together for your Tennessee watch parties, Calhoun's is a wonderful thing. When you want to grab something to or from the ballpark, it's always fresh. It's always going to be wonderful. It's available for pickup near you. And remember, Friday home games mean we're live, and Will be with us some down at Calhoun's on the river. It's phenomenal. Like Hunter Ensley says, Calhoun's, we're champions feast. Or does he say we're champs feast? At any rate, it's the taste of Tennessee. Now let's get back to more on our TLD Logistics phone line. Online at tldlogistics.com. Load those phone lines up at 865-200-5402. That's 865-200-5402. Here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Will Heflin.
Back with you on Garza Law Extra Innings. Matt Dixon has joined us as well. You can go to the phones on our TLD Logistics hotline. You are on the air.
Hey, guys, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
You think the Gavin Klein, Keelan, I can't pronounce his last name, experiment leading off is over? Because he's 8 for 42, and his strikeouts are up as leadoff hitter. Curley's actually out hitting since they took Curley out of that leadoff spot. I mean, I just don't think he's a leadoff hitter, and I don't know if Tony's over managing, trying to make too many moves. I still go back to the thing where Abernathy would have been the guy I would have gone with all year, and he's just totally disappeared off this team. I don't know, but I just don't think that he needs to be laid off batter. I mean, that's just, I think he's struggled since been put in that spot since after the LSU series. I don't know. What do y'all think about that?
Matt, do you think it's more the leadoff spot or more the hamstring injury kind of lost his rhythm a little bit? Or do you think he looks uncomfortable in that leadoff spot, Matt? Matt Dixon. I may have him muted.
He's on. Yeah, he's.
Matt, you with us?
Here. Say something.
Matt,
You got me?
I got you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Going into this weekend, I would have said it's probably more the hamstring deal, but it felt like he's down 0-2 in every count or every at bat. He's just, and I don't know what it is. Like he has the lowest OPS in SEC play of Tennessee's like 7 regular starters. And that obviously just went down even further this weekend. So he's been a totally different guy since he came back. But he clearly, I don't think, is comfortable in the leadoff spot.
Jeez. Dave, lowest OPS of your main guys, Gavin Keelan, who's widely regarded as, probably your most pure hitter. You could argue him or Andrew Fisher. It stinks he missed the time because – yes, he came back for Ole Miss and was the DH and hammered a few balls immediately, but after that, first just jolt of being back in the lineup, it just hasn't quite been the same, and you really got to feel for him a little bit just because he missed some really key, important at-bats when it was still relatively early in the year, especially in SEC play.
Yeah, it's just that they've just not been able to have a consistent lineup, and it's been like that all year. Guys in and out. Abernathy has been missing. Levi Clark was missing for a long time. Chapman is just in a horrendous funk. Hunter had 1 hit all weekend. It's just some of these guys are just taking different opportunities at different times to not hit, and you have 2 or 3 guys in your lineup just no show. It's hard to win in this league.
Yeah, I mean that was the biggest thing Thursday. You got 6 hits from your 6 through 9 hitters, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
First time you had scored 10 runs since the A&M first game.
And then you got your ace going Friday, and he probably had his worst outing of the year. I'm sure it was.
Oh, it was. It was by far.
It's just, I just don't. He just doesn't have the. He can't turn to anything and it work out.
He's going to keep experimenting. You have to. You have to keep experimenting when it's not working.
I understand. I do. The Abernathy thing, for me, that's the one thing I've always harped on all year. I thought he was the perfect. He can play left field, good glove. You keep him in that leadoff position. If he bats 275 or better, he's got good discipline at the plate. He's going to get on base via the walk. I just don't understand how that he just totally became don't you agree that at the beginning of the year you thought this guy was going to be in that spot probably all year?
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to pull him out. And I'm going to take a great quote from former big league pitching coach, good friend of Basilio, Mr. Balsley. He said one time, guys are allowed to get better. That's the great thing about baseball. But the thing I'm saying there is he kind of stumbled when they got into SEC play and faced some tough lefties too. But, they could have made that choice to just stick him there and let him develop and figure it out. But, at the same time, you're sitting at number one in the country at the time. You can't really afford to just be like, oh, well, we're just going to let these freshmen figure it out. Like, you're trying to win now, and nothing has changed on that front.
But then he stuck, Curley's been there, and he failed at it. He's just not a leadoff. He don't have the speed. He falls behind the count way too often, and that spot's pretty important. And we don't steal a lot of bases anyway. But I just thought the Abernathy thing. I think he was something that this team's lacked in past years. A guy that can just steal bases and have that. I know that's not part of what Vitello likes to do, but this guy was a little different. And the guy's got a really good glove. I mean, I know he's a natural infielder, but he's got speed, and we haven't had Margot's struggled a little bit in the outfield, but I don't know. I hate it. I hope the baseball gods turn back our direction, and we can have some success in the postseason. Y'all have a great day.
You too, Dave. Hot, cold, hot, baby. That's what we're hoping for. Hey, we may see some Abernathy down the stretch, depending on the matchup. But I think you can pencil him in for your everyday leadoff man next year, at least where we sit today. This is Extra Innings presented by Garza Law. You're on the air.
Will the Thrill, what's up, Ryder?
What's up? Who am I talking to?
This is Sam, man. What's up, Matt? Listen, I'm in upstate South Carolina now. He calls me from the Ridge, but I've spent a few years in the Ridge.
Okay.
I don't know if I coined that term, Will the Thrill, but let me start off saying that it might be kind of an oxymoron, but, man, in there, you're as cool as the other side of the pillow, brother. And the coverage for baseball and this whole season has been phenomenal.
Well, I'm starting to think I messed us up because as soon as I jumped in and started doing this show, the thing kind of turned sideways. But you know what? If you're saying I'm cool, then maybe it's not my fault.
Well, it hadn't turned sideways, man. And you being that has nothing to do with it. You started off by saying Texas A&M might not even make the tournament. Is Florida State going to make the tournament?
What are they doing? They getting hammered by North Carolina this weekend? Or you mean Florida? You talking about Florida State or Florida?
Florida State.
Florida State's in the tournament. Yeah.
Okay.
They're a top 10 team this weekend. Now, I don't know where they will drop to, but at this point, somebody's got to host. You know what I mean? Somebody has to host.
Right.
North Carolina certainly will.
Yeah, and, following Negative, him and, Colombo, I call the Karen callers. But, he has some good points. Abernathy, that's a good point.
That's his guy. He brings up Abernathy every
the kid's
week.
A ball player.
You know what?
He really is.
I have my guys too.
Well, what was the starting lineup to start the year?
To start the year? I believe Clark was your DH and Abernathy was your left fielder. They jumbled it early, but I'm trying to think back to that Hofstra series. They beat them so bad you didn't really get a real look. If you look at the Minute Maid tournament, that gave you a better idea.
Right.
And you had Manny Marin kind of win third base, and he spent some time sitting, but it seems like he's locked that down again. You had Dean at short, Keelan at second. They've now flip-flopped. Fisher at third. Fisher even DH'd some a little bit early when Bargo would play first. And then Bargo forced his way in there. Levi played some left. He and Bargo kind of flip-flopped. Peebles and Lawless were rotating, but Peebles got, most weekends he got 2 out of the 3. Now he gets them all. And then you had Inslee in center and Chapman in right. So it really has kind of gone back to where it was to begin the year. But we've seen a lot of different variations via experimentation, via matchups, via injury. So, yeah, and I don't think we'll see the same lineup every game in postseason either. I think you've got to either ride the hot hand or play the matchups.
Right. How many does that stadium hold in Fayetteville?
On paper, it says 11-something, I want to say, but that hog pen out there, they just fill that place. I don't know how many they really have there. But their official attendance is usually between 11 and 12 when it's packed out like it was for most of this weekend.
And Lindsey Nelson's max is what right now?
6,500 was the best that I saw this year, I believe.
Well, man,
we're just landlocked at Lindsey Nelson. I mean, if they could build, the infrastructure to have 12,000 in there, they'd do it. But even when all these renovations are done, you're just not going to get that same amount because there's not space.
Well, I mentioned to Tony several weeks ago about, was there any talk of them bulldozing that stadium? Listen, Vitello went to the top of the mountain like he won it all. Like after that happened, he is the man. You know what I mean? Like, and all those people in that stadium, there's no telling of the 12,000 there had Omaha shirts on. And this guy went to Omaha and beat everybody.
Uh-huh.
Listen, man, this conference, it's like basketball, football. It's the best of the best. And this guy has won a national title, come back, went undefeated for the longest period. Listen, man, please put us as visitors, please. I would love nothing more. The other year in Clemson, when we went into their house and stole their lunch money, was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Dude, listen, Matt. You there, Matt?
Yeah, he's there.
You got Berkey's number. Get him on the line right now, brother. Thursday night, he's talking about when they bunted Keelan. He said, oh, that's a good call. You never bunt Gavin Keelan, son. Come on now. Matt, text him and let him know that was a bad take. Be better, Berkey. Will, listen, brother, it's been fantastic. But listen, let it play out. This team can catch fire and go all the way. They're going to be in Omaha. Mark it down. This team will be in Omaha. Love y'all, brother.
Book it. Matt Dixon. Tennessee is right now even money on VIP play, sitting at plus 100 to make it to Omaha. Was that a bad take by Chris Burke? I can't hate on Burke, man. He is literally the best in the business. I look up to that guy. He is.
Yeah, I love Burke. Burke's my favorite baseball player ever.
I
think Keelan might have called his own number there.
No, he did.
He knows how much he's struggling.
There was no bunt signal there. That was a complete rogue assignment, and they have that decision-making authority if they think that they can get one down. Now, my qualm with that is that they weren't even shifted, so it would have taken a real executed drag bunt, whereas he did one earlier and got a free hit out of it. If the third baseman's over at shortstop, then yeah, it doesn't even have to be that good. Just get it past the pitcher. But if he's playing normal third base, because I think there was just a guy on first, I don't love that from Keelan there. But, he's trying to win, trying to compete.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're just trying to make a play. A guy who is obviously not swinging it well, and not. I guess he's probably not seeing it well either. Trying to just get on base and extend an inning. So I don't know. I mean, I thought Tennessee was really good in game one. I mean, obviously scoring 10 runs, had the nice inning with a couple of 2-out hits. And then you scored 6 runs in a Liam Doyle start. I think we all probably would have taken that. It's just Arkansas just hammered him.
That was weird, man.
Give them credit. I mean, they're the best hitting lineup against lefties in the league by a pretty wide margin. So it wasn't great from that perspective. But to see them just constantly barrel up fastballs that were still like mid to upper 90s was really impressive. They put some good swings on. I mean, he didn't elevate it as well as he has been, but I mean, and then today you just let that inning get away from him. When I guess you had the Keelan, the error last night cost them that game, really, because that was the 2 unearned runs, and that's what you lost by. So this team just finds a way to make just enough mistakes to get beat 2 out of 3 every weekend. Maybe getting out of the league play will help get out of that.
Yeah, I think seeing somebody else in the dugout with your weekend rotation going will be a welcome sight, even if it's a strong ACC opponent. There's just it just means more, and that is, I know it's kind of a corny saying, but it is true. Garza Law Extra Innings, you're on the air.
Hey y'all, this is William.
Hey, William.
Today was yet again another Tennessee baseball's loss.
It was. Hey, William, did you swing at any balls out of the strike zone this week? Because that was your deal last week. Did you do it this week?
Yep.
Come on, man.
I did. I hit a dinger, though.
Okay.
I hit a couple home runs, at least.
Did you bat flip or what? Are you a bat flip guy, or do you think you should just run around the bases?
I'm a bat flip guy, more of.
Well, that's today's game, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately. And I'm just disappointed.
I am too, man.
But we got the tournament. Is it this upcoming week we have the tournament?
We've got Hoover this week, and then next week will be the NCAA tournament starting on Friday. Should be the last day of May or the first day of June. I'll have to look at the calendar.
All right. So you still got time to get to Omaha, hopefully.
You ever been out there,
another
Will?
natty.
You ever been to Omaha?
No.
No? You need to have your parents take you next time Tennessee makes it. You think they would?
Hopefully. I mean, we are massive Tennessee fans, so probably.
I feel you, brother. 2 dingers this week, huh?
It was actually multiple.
It was multiple?
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee could have used multiple today. They got one from Andrew Fisher, a towering 2-run homer to cut the lead to 8-4. But unfortunately, that was the last of the scoring for the Volunteers. They might need you in the lineup next week in Hoover.
Yeah.
Now, what would you be nervous if you played for Tennessee next week?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, that's all right. You're allowed to be nervous.
It's okay to be nervous.
Probably something wrong if you're not nervous,
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't play well if you're nervous. Just always keep that in mind next time you're facing a kid that throws hard or something like that. If you're a little bit nervous, just say, hey, that means I'm more locked in.
Yeah. All right. Take care, brother.
All right, well, thanks for the call, brother. Matt, I like that kid. 2 weeks in a row, he's giving me a shout. He was a little more comfortable this time.
Yeah, getting better.
Do you believe that he
keep improving?
Do you believe that he hit multiple dingers? He didn't give me a number. I said 2. He said it was multiple.
That might be a little embellished.
That's all right. I'm gonna embellish the crap out of my stats to my kids. I'm gonna tell them I threw 96. I'm just kidding, Matt. Unfortunately, I played when everything was documented, and I can't say I threw 96 because I can be proven wrong. But you know what can't be proven wrong? People that say Nolan Ryan threw like 108 or Bob Gibson or whoever. You know, we'll just never know whether that was right or wrong. Getting a little distracted. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, get back to the phones. I'm going to dig into Matt Dixon a little bit, see what he saw. We'll talk about postseason, but, you know, this team's got to figure something out, and it's not going to get any easier. I think it'll be a welcome sight to play somebody from outside the SEC, but if you want to get to where you want to go, which is Omaha, and likely a super regional, you may have to play another SEC team rather soon. So we'll be right back with you on Extra Innings presented by Garza Law.
Appreciate you listening to Garza Law Extra Innings presented by Marcos Garza, your Garza Law firm. We'll get you back to the action here momentarily. Portions today presented by our friends at TLD Logistics. Online at tldlogistics.com. So much more than a trucking company. First of all, tremendous supporters of your Tennessee baseball Vols. You will see Jim Peters. You will see Kevin Herman. You will see those folks at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, rain, sleet, or snow. But the important thing is TLD Logistics does everything. Whatever your challenges are relating to shipping, you reach out to them. They're going to take care of you. They even helped out the recent Super Bowl, trucking something across the country to them. They can do it for you. And if you are wanting to become an owner-operator, do we ever have an opportunity for you? Check out tldlogistics.com for more information. Also presented by our friends at Simpson's Meats. Simpson's Meats raises and sources their meat on farms, on pasture, on purpose, comfortably continuing a tradition that began in 1888 on Jim Simpson's farm. I'm talking about a beef brand built on quality. I'm talking about, you know, you're going to pay a little more, but you're going to get what you pay for and then some. Steaks, burgers, sausages, roast, chicken. They also have a variety of local offerings at their butcher shop, from milk to honey to jams to eggs. You name it, they've got it. Stop by and taste the best from the Tennessee community. And if you want to buy in bulk, they sell half and quarter cows as well. Steaks make a great gift. Gift boxes available. Ship premium meats anywhere in the world at simpsonsmeats.com. Visit their store in West Knoxville off Level Road and shop there today. Also presented by our friends at Connexial, Knoxville's own transportation and logistics tech company, proud sponsor of the My 20 Drive of the Game right here on Garza Law Extra Innings, revolutionizing your trucking industry nationwide. We want your fleet to be more efficient, our drivers and roads safer. We all want that. Take control of your fleet, improve your safety scores, make drivers happy. KONEXIAL.com, KONEXIAL.com. And now, without further ado, let's get back to the action on our TLD Logistics phone lines. Light them up at 865-200-5402. It's Garza Law Extra Innings, and here's the superstar, Will Heflin.
Matt Dixon, Tennessee will play the winner of 9 seed Alabama and number 16 seed Missouri come Wednesday. That'll be the 10:30 a.m. game. That means Tennessee is the 8 seed. Oh, that doesn't feel good, but you still got to bye. So now in a 16-team SEC field, that means you're dead smack in the middle of the pack. You're the first team on the upper half, if you want to look at it that way. Matt, what do you think about that? I'm assuming it'll be Alabama, but 10:30 a.m. game. Who do you think we start on Wednesday?
I was probably Sharman. That's who started the last couple of midweek games. And I think he's done pretty good. And he obviously didn't pitch this weekend. And that's probably who I would think they'd go with.
Interesting. You know, Phillips threw on short rest this week, so to ask him to turn around and throw on a day's short rest next week would be a lot. but maybe,
Yeah.
I think that's probably a pretty good idea. Shoot, start Arvidsson.
He looked good today.
He looked phenomenal. But TLD Logistics Hotline, 865-200-5402. Let's go back to the phones, Matt. Garza Law, Extra Innings, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Will. Hey, Matt. This is Gary. How you guys doing?
Good, Gary. Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir. So, just listening to the game today or watching the game, don't you kind of get the feeling that Berkey thinks that we're going to be hosting? He kept pushing that number 9 RPI thing.
That RPI is very important, and you lost the series, but your RPI went up, I believe, this week, because a singular win in Baum Stadium is phenomenal for the RPI. But and you can't really get hurt when you're on the road in the SEC against the top team unless you get swept. So from an RPI perspective, if you're trying to make the case for Tennessee, you're 100% right. And so the knock on RPI is that it's just one metric and it doesn't really factor in how Tennessee is playing currently. And that's true, but you have to go on something. And so, this kind of goes back to the old BCS in football where, they let a computer decide. And it's like, yeah, the computer is unbiased. The computer takes all the data points and gives you the 2 highest rated teams, and that's who plays for the national championship. And so the RPI is a really, really good indicator. It's very rarely just way off from where the rankings are, but it's just a true evaluation. It accounts for almost everything. So, being at number 9 is certainly the selling point for Tennessee. But Alabama or Missouri, whoever that may be, on a neutral site will change your RPI. And if they were to lose that game, then I think they would drop further to in the teens somewhere RPI wise, and that would make it dang near impossible to make a case for Tennessee.
I think one of the things that would help us is I think it was D1 or one of those sites had us going to West Virginia as a number D1. 2 seed, and then West Virginia went 0-3 this weekend. They got swept. They lost today 7-0, and they got swept by Kansas on their home field.
Yeah, they're not hosting.
So they're not hosting. So maybe we just flip with them if we hold serve and we flip with them and they come here as a 2 seed. If I told you guys that we're going to host, and if we host and win, we go to Vanderbilt and play for a chance to go to the College World Series. How realistic do you think that is? And how do you like our odds if that were to be our path?
Matt, go ahead.
I'd take it. I'd like that. You're kind of right on that bubble of hosting. I feel like they still have a chance to host, which is crazy, but they probably need 2 wins in Hoover. But if you're hosting, you should definitely get out of your own regional. And Tennessee's never lost the regional in Lindsey Nelson. And I would take your chances playing Vandy again, because the balls have been flying out of parks all weekend in the league with the warmer temperatures. And even though Vandy's shown some power recently, Tennessee's a better home run hitting team. And I would like to think Tennessee maybe could go win 2 out of 3 in Nashville. I'd take that draw right now.
Yeah, I'd say sign me up. Sign me up for going over to Nashville with a trip to Omaha on the line. The issue with that is if Tennessee ends up – Vanderbilt's a lock to be a top 8 seed, but I don't see them being 1, 2, or 3 unless they really make a run in Hoover. And then, if Tennessee is one of the last host sites, I don't think it'll line up that way, but it's possible. I think the best way for that to play out would be Vanderbilt loses early, and then Tennessee and I haven't looked at the full bracket yet, but maybe Tennessee would meet Vanderbilt in round 2 or something along the lines of that. And if Tennessee were able to beat them in Hoover, or maybe Vanderbilt loses their first game or second game and Tennessee makes a little run, then you could see Tennessee jumping into that 11, 12, maybe 10, and if Vanderbilt's the 6 or 7 or 8, could line up that way. And sometimes they do it on purpose to where they pick the matchups that they need to have, which is fine. You can't have an SEC team in every single super regional not playing SEC teams, because then you're just going to have Hoover Part 2 in Omaha. So
yeah,
you've
it seems like sometimes don't they take geographic into that as well sometimes?
Not as much as they used to, but they still do, yeah.
Oh.
So you'll have one
Okay.
SEC team that has to go out west to Oregon, and that's just part of it. It may be Tennessee if they don't host. So be prepared for that. But typically they try to keep that in mind somewhat, for sure, yeah.
So I will say this: the positive that I'm going to take from this series in Arkansas is that on Thursday night, Marcus Phillips pitched like he did not want to give up his spot, didn't he? I mean, he balled out, and then A.J. Russell pitched very well too. So, I mean, if I'm making the call, there's my 3 starters right there that I use in the regionals.
You move AJ to starter?
I would start AJ in the third game. I think they gave him a little bit more each time. They've left him out there. He's built up to that. And if he can start and give you, I would start him instead of Teagan at this point. And then I think I would put Teagan in the bullpen for a kind of a spot place where you need get a good out or two against a tough right-handed batter. That's another thing. The bullpen, guys, I'm not sure. I mean, we got a lot of guys out there that are pretty equal. Who do you trust the most to get against a right-handed batter, a right-handed pitcher, and who on the left side do you trust the most coming out of the bullpen at this point?
Well, I think the left-handed answer is more straightforward. You trust Loy, and then you see
Dylan Loy.
You see the
Yeah.
upside with Arvidsson today. So
Sure.
I have plenty of trust in both of those guys. If Arvidsson's sporadic, you know it right away, so go get him. But the right-handed side is a very interesting discussion. Matt Dixon,
Tanner Franklin? Maybe.
and you know Sneed's the guy, but he hasn't gotten it done lately. They went to Breedlove today. He ended up giving up the grand slam, but he was good last night, which is why they brought him in today to get a righty. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Matt Dixon, who do you trust the most from the right side right now, out of the bullpen? Beside assuming A.J. Russell has moved into the starter role, which I don't know if they're going to do. I probably doubt it. But it's not the worst idea I've heard. Assuming A.J. Russell's not your answer, who do you trust most out of the bullpen from the right side?
I mean, I guess it would be Coons if we're putting Russell in the rotation, but if nobody's on base, I'd probably go with Sneed, but him or Franklin are both kind of, I think they're fairly similar. I do know lefties have been hammering Franklin in league play. They're hitting like over 400 against him. So if there's any lefties coming up, I definitely wouldn't have Franklin out there. So I guess you'd probably roll with Sneed and just hope that it's a good day for him. I mean, but he's not really pitched that well really all season, unfortunately.
No.
Hey guys, last thing I'll comment I'll make is I think I heard Dave earlier talking about Jay Abernathy, and I love Jay Abernathy too. I'm a big fan. I think he has a very, very bright future. And if I remember right, didn't he start his struggle because they were kind of rotating third, left field, and DH with Bargo, Levi Clark, and him, and Manny at third. And about that time that Jay started kind of getting a little cold, started struggling a little bit, that's about when Dalton just took off. It
Yes.
got really, really hot, and we all know Tony loves Bargo.
Yep, you're exactly right. That's kind of what happened. So it made it tougher for Jay to get on the field, and then he was kind of in a rotational role, and it's hard to be successful at any time in this league, any age group, but especially as a freshman if you're not in there every single day.
Well, guys, my hope is that this team gets hot here in the next very quickly, and our season ends one way or the other in Omaha.
Here's to that. Appreciate the call, man. Matt, the bullpen, I've been very defensive about them for several weeks now because of the talent you look at when you look down there. I mean, two of the guys we're sitting here struggling to say that, yeah, we trust them. They throw 100 miles an hour. They haven't struck anybody out since the Civil War. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but you know, I'm always the first one to blame the offense for struggles. And you know, it's hard to blame the offense this weekend. It really is. Now, the offense is playing the field behind you, and you touched on the error that was the difference in the game yesterday, and there was an error in the big inning that they had today after the phantom balk call. That was not a balk, but whatever. It took away the double play, but if you get an out there, I'm talking about the ball that got through second base, if you get an out there, it's runner at third, one out. It probably changes the complexion of the inning, no?
Oh, yeah, I think it does. Now, it's on Tennessee for letting it just snowball from there. But, no, that was an awful, awful call. I mean, that wasn't even – I don't know how you make that call in that spot. But, yeah, you just let that inning snowball on you. And then, I mean, it felt like the game – it really felt like the game was over at that point, as sad as that sounds. And when this team's down 4 runs, it's just such an uphill climb.
Man, it is. And
I mean,
it's
just,
like they show life offensively, but it's always with 2 outs. And so you have nothing, you have no leeway. Like, it's 2 quick outs and then maybe a hit or a walk, and they'll extend the inning, which is great, but you can't operate that way every single inning because you can't manufacture anything.
Yeah, it's like the first inning today. You get 3 hits and you get a run, and then you don't put balls in play, and you let them get out of it with just 1 run. I mean, you needed 2 or 3 there to. I mean, maybe it doesn't end up mattering, but put a little bit of early pressure on them. Would have been really nice to put up 2 or 3 runs there. I think Tony's mentioned this. This was like the 3rd or 4th time where Tennessee's had a 3-hit inning and barely scratched a run across, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's actually impressive, but Gage Wood gave up the 3 hits and then struck out the next 4 guys going into the 2nd inning. So that's definitely frustrating. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't happen in a vacuum, but it would have been nice to see how the game would have played out had you gotten at least a pair there. You get a crooked number, and maybe the whole game is just entirely different. So let's go back to the phones. That's our TLD Logistics hotline, 865-200-5402. You're on the air.
Hey, Evan, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I got to say, obviously you want to win the series and you want to do well, but I probably haven't been as optimistic about the team as I have been since the Ole Miss series. And it's really for one reason. And it's seeing how well, I know the last caller said it as well, but just echoing him, how well Marcus Phillips did on Thursday. I think the way he was able to control the run game, and the guy's a great pitcher. I mean, he's up there throwing gas. And what, did he pick off 24 times in one game?
23, yeah.
Yeah, I loved every single one of them. I wish he'd done it 24 times or 25. I loved every single pickoff that he did. And it's funny because I was going to ask something similar you've already brought up. The tournament, the SEC tournament with us playing on Wednesday, I think you got to throw them because I think that you got to secure 1 win. I think 1 win in the tournament gives you a pretty good chance at hosting. And I know he's going to be running on a short week, but how many pitches did he throw on Thursday? Do we know? Was it north of 80 or north of 90?
Yeah, I think he got right to 100.
Yeah, that would be tough then.
Hey, Matt,
throw the guy.
I don't mean to interrupt you, man. Matt, everybody on Twitter is saying, all the folks that cover Tennessee are saying the 8 seed, and we're getting some comments saying we're the 7. So I don't know what the heck's going on. See if you can figure out who we're playing and what seed we are in the tournament, because we need to know that. But go ahead, man. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I think Phillips did really well. If you got Phillips, you always trust Doyle. I've seen some guys do really well throughout the season and struggle at the end and kind of get in their head about it. You hope that it doesn't happen with that guy. He's been great all year for us. But if Phillips and Doyle can go back to back, we'll be good in the region. I think if you can throw Phillips and he continue to be good in the tournament, you got a good shot at hosting. My one thing that I was going to bring up, I don't, the Manny Marion kid, I'm sure he's a really great kid, nice guy. It's really hard to come into this league as a freshman at 18 or 19 years old and be able to have success. But I always think of a guy who's playing third base, you got to put one of your donkeys there. And for a guy who's hitting 9th in the lineup playing third base, I don't know. I think Bargo might have played there a little bit.
He did.
Yeah, I know that it's probably too late to make that change in the lineup now, especially with how the infield is so shaky. But who were the other guys that could have taken that spot? Because I think Marin's hitting like 230 or 240 with 2 home runs. And usually, like I said, that third baseman, high 200s, 16, 17 home run guy. So who was the option there, and kind of how did that all come about would be my question.
Well, it was Bargo at times a couple weeks ago, and he had a couple solid weeks there and then a little shaky. Marin's your best defensive third baseman, and I think he's been pretty competitive. He's hitting 286. I know the homers haven't been there, but you can see the swing with him. He looks very competitive in the box. I have no problem with Marin there. That's who I would play. That's who I would play right now and the rest of the year. Maybe I'm just not seeing it the same way you are.
Yeah, it may just be different of opinions. Who has played well? It was 44 2 years ago, the blonde-headed kid. And then who was it last year?
44 was Zane Denton. He hit the game winner at Clemson for that 23 team.
Yeah.
And then last year was Billy Amick, who was definitely there for his offense, to put it nicely.
Yeah, I've always liked offense at the corners and defense up the middle and in center, and that's just an opinion based. You can go back and forth about it all day. And 286 is good. I mean, 286 honestly is great as a freshman. I just always like to see a little bit more power there, but Tony knows more than I do, and you trust what he does. But I know the defense has been shaky. I just want to get your opinion on it. I knew Barco was there for a little bit, but there's some we diced this line up so many different ways at this point that we're sticking probably with what we got. Hopefully, as I said, Phillips can continue to have success, and you keep riding Doyle. So we'll just see how it goes. What they'll do strategically, pitching wise in the tournament, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, man. Yeah. Phillips is such a key for us, especially in the postseason. But he kind of came onto the scene a little bit last year in Hoover, and Hoover's such a spot. Same thing happened for Dylan Loy, where I don't know what I want more, Matt Dixon, for Tennessee to go there and win 4 games and be the SEC tournament champs, or win 1 game, get a host, and then get the heck home and maybe rest up and not even have to throw Liam Doyle this week and let him have a breather, because that guy's carried a heavy load. And some of those freshmen like Krenzel and Coons that have thrown every weekend for the first time in their life, they're not at 100 innings or anything, but still the most workload they've had. I don't know that a break wouldn't do this team wonders, kind of give them a reset and then maybe feel closer to what they did on opening day. What do you think? If you could still host, only winning 1 game, what would you prefer? Because you have to win the first one. That one.
Yeah, I would prefer to win a game especially if that were to lock up a host spot and then kind of bow out of there. To give those arms a little bit of extra rest, and that's an extended, maybe like a 10-day rest or whatever it'd be, and maybe you can come out of it a little bit better. But no, I'd prefer them not to stick like the basketball team, get to the championship game and lose. Like that'd be awful. So, but I definitely think you need to win a game down there, not just for your hosting, but just to try to build some positive momentum. And I know we've talked about how this team doesn't play well at home, and I do think there's some validity there. But I think you want to be a host because you get to play a 4 seed, and you could potentially save Doyle for that second game, which is really what decides the regionals most of the time anyway. If you're a 2 seed going on the road, you're almost going to have to throw Doyle game 1 just to make sure you win. So, but all of it kind of is matchup dependent, especially with this team. Like last year's team, it didn't matter who they played in a regional or super; they were probably going to win. But this year, you really need teams that don't steal a lot of bases. Even though I guess Phillips was really good at holding guys and changing things up. How impressed were you with that, Will, to make that big leap in just like 1 week? They've obviously worked on it probably all year, but finally to see it pay off in a game.
Yeah, it was the long holds, and it was the long hold and then pick off to change up the timing of not just when he goes to the plate, but also when he picks off. And then, he was a 1.5, 1.6 to the plate, and he got it down to like a 1.4, 1.44, I think Berkey said on the broadcast, which gives Peebles a chance. It's still not fast, but he did abbreviate the leg lift slightly, and that's all it takes, right? You didn't even see him try. I know Arkansas is not a running team, but if he is against a running team, 1.4 and you mix up your looks and mix up your pickoffs, then you at least tame it. You may not shut it down completely. You guys are still going to steal, and that's part of the game. But you got to give Peebles a chance because he really is a good catch and throw guy. And he's got a quick pop time, and he's pretty accurate. So you don't have to be a 1-2 or a 1-1 to the plate. You don't have to completely slide step, but you can't lift that thing up there to the sky and give him no shot. So, yeah, I was super impressed. It just looked like he wasn't going to let it happen. It was just like, I've had enough. And so that was good for that week, but you need to see him, continue on that and do it the next time he's out there as well, regardless of the opponent. But, again, he's such a pup. He's such a young pitcher that these finer details of pitching that aren't just about how hard you can throw it and where and how much you can spin your slider. It's all that other little stuff that he'll continue to get better at, not only in the rest of his career at Tennessee, however long or however many weeks that will be, but once he goes in the first round of the draft and gets into the minor leagues, he'll get so much better. You could argue his ceiling is as high as anyone's on this roster. I know Doyle's had a phenomenal year. Is probably going to be a top 10 pick, but Marcus Phillips is just built like a house, and you could see him grabbing the ball every 5th day for a rotation for a real long time because there's not many guys that throw an easier 98 to 100 than Marcus Phillips. And so when he gets into pro ball, there ain't no telling what he's going to cruise at. But, Matt, let's get a quick break. Our last break of Extra Innings presented by Garza Law. On the other side, we're going to figure out what seed Tennessee is. I'm going to go figure out who they're playing, whether or not it's Alabama or Missouri. If it's somebody else, we'll talk about that. But let's touch on, because Kendall Rogers with D1 Baseball just put out his pretty much locks for top 8 seeds. We'll kind of try to predict on where Tennessee might go and who they might be matched up with in Supers if they are able to grab one of those regional hosts, or if they're, headed on the road somewhere, what that might look like. It won't be West Virginia, I can tell you that, which is probably good because Virginia is the last 3 seed I would want to see. But we'll be right back with you on the other side. This is Extra Innings presented by Garza Law.
We'll get you back to Garza Law Extra Innings momentarily. I do want to remind you, portions presented by our friends at Performance Medicine. Take control of your wellness, personalized health solutions that fit your lifestyle. You will be so glad that you got out of the rat race and the way you understand healthcare right now, because that's exactly what Dr. Rogers did several years ago. Comprehensive proactive solutions empowering you to achieve optimal health on your term. If you're tired of feeling drained of energy, you're struggling with your weight goals, maybe you dream of radiant skin, maybe you're hoping to start a family, say goodbye to cookie cutter healthcare. PerformanceMedicine.net for more. Check out their YouTube channel at Performance Medicine. Also presented by our friends, my friends and your friends at Alumni Hall. Listen up, baseball fans. Step up to the plate. New gear from Alumni Hall. Don't you dare swing and miss by shopping elsewhere. Alumni Hall absolutely has you covered. You can shop in their 3 Knoxville locations where you'll see the best selection, the top brands for you to choose from all season long. They also have a shop in Bristol, one in Murfreesboro, and for you listening to us around the world, they're online anywhere in the world and available to you at alumnihall.com. The ultimate Tennessee shopping destination is Alumni Hall. And a special shout out to our friends at Dos Equis. Celebrate another successful Tennessee baseball run all season long by going for Dos, Tony Vols. I'm talking about Dos Equis. Lager Especial, a golden Pilsner stout made from the choice of hops, balanced composition, smooth, clean finish. Party guest always invited, never overstays as welcome. Nuanced blend of malts and earth tones, flavorful yet light tasting and smooth. Balanced composition, clean finish. That, my friends, is Dos Equis Cervezas Mexicanas 2025, White Plains, New York. Now let's burn up those TLD Logistics phone lines and get you back to the superstar. I'm talking about the host with the most. I'm talking about superstar Will Heflin. It's Garza Law, Extra Innings, Tennessee baseball style. Hit it, Will.
Garza Law Extra Innings, Will Heflin back with you for the final segment of our show. I have yet to see anyone that covers Tennessee baseball say anything different than the 8 seed. So I'm rolling with that until proven wrong. It'll be the winner of Tennessee, or the winner of Missouri and Alabama. On Tuesday night, Tennessee will play 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday. The winner of that game, which will be the 8 seed versus the 9 seed. Now, Tennessee did not play Missouri this year. Missouri won 3 conference games. They all came in the same weekend against Texas A&M, which was the weirdest, most bizarre, surprising upset of the year. Not just one game. It was a sweep, which is insane. But anyways, assuming Alabama wins that game, it'll be the 4th matchup between the two. Tennessee beat Alabama 2 out of 3 in Tuscaloosa early on in SEC play. Alabama's a very solid team. And what's funny is that Alabama has the same record as Tennessee, but Tennessee has the head-to-head, and Alabama played a little bit better down the stretch. So, Matt Dixon, am I crazy to say that the winner of that game gets one of the last host sites? I'm not saying it's the 16 seed, but could we quite literally be playing that game and the winner take the host?
It could be, but looking at the schedule, it looks like Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Alabama all tied for 7th place, and Tennessee should win the tiebreaker because they won road series at both of those schools. So I don't know why Tennessee wouldn't be the 7th seed, which would, really change your matchup kind of for really the whole tournament. So I'll be curious to see when the official thing comes out, because I would assume a 3-team tie, it would be the record if you played each other, and Tennessee would obviously have the best record among the 3 teams because they won both series.
I'm going to have to call my man Ben McKee over at GoVols247. 41 minutes ago, at Ben McKee 14, official, Tennessee will be the 8 seed in next week's SEC tournament. Vols will play Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern against the winner of Tuesday's game between 9 seed Alabama, 16 seed Missouri. And a couple other people that cover Tennessee sports have tweeted the same thing. But I'm with you. If they're all tied, then you would think Tennessee would win those tiebreakers, having beat them both in head-to-head. But who knows? I'm not an expert on the SEC tournament or the seeding. I'm not an expert on a lot of things. But I am an expert on VIP play. We are live as of Monday. So this is our 6th day live. My code is TNVIPS, all caps. New users, $5. Bet $5, get a $100 bonus bet, or $100 in bonus bets. That'll be split up. 21 and over only in Tennessee to bet. Got a gambling problem? Please call the Tennessee Red Line. Matt, Kendall Rogers, a couple minutes ago, since we've been live, tweeted out he feels, and Kendall Rogers is of D1 Baseball. He knows what he's talking about. Said feels very good about these teams as top 8 locks. In no order: Arkansas, Georgia, LSU, UNC, who just went on the road and looked very good against Florida State, Texas, and at Vandy Boys. Dash, Auburn baseball close, others in the mix as well. So that's 6 that he feels really good about, and then Auburn close. If you're a host, let's say Tennessee does host, because if they're the 2 seed, then it depends on where they send you for supers, yada, yada, yada. We're not going to get into that. If Tennessee beats, let's say they play Alabama. If something changes, we'll let you know. Let's say they play Alabama, they win that game, and they're locked in for that 13, 14, 15, 16. You're likely playing one of those teams. If you do get the 16 seed, you're likely going to number 1 whoever for supers. There's not a team on that list, Matt Dixon, that is invincible. But there's also not a team on that list that you feel particularly comfortable. It's not going to be Evansville this year, is what I'm saying, barring something ridiculously crazy, which could happen. It's baseball, and we see it year in, year out. But you do assume that the top 8 seeds will win their regional. Tennessee's likely going to have to go through a top 10 team to get to Omaha, which you did not have to do last year, and you did not have to do in 2023, and you did not have to do in 2022. Now, 2022, you didn't make it, but you were playing Notre Dame, who was not a host, and won the regional. I believe it was as a 2 seed, may have been a 3. But the point is, Matt Dixon, that the road is going to be much tougher this year than it has been in years past. I know you had to go to Clemson, which was a top 8 seed, and you won that series, but then you kind of got a break because Southern Miss beat Auburn at Auburn in that regional, and so it came down to basically host sites comparing. Tennessee had an argument that they should have hosted that super regional. Whatever they decided, Tennessee had to go to Hattiesburg and ended up making it to Omaha on the road there in 2023. Tennessee will likely have to do something similar, barring something crazy, to make it to the College World Series in 2025. I know that was a lot to digest.
It all makes sense. So yeah, you're going to have to go on the road almost certainly for a super. And it's, I guess, still a little up in the air for the regional, but either way, you're going to have to do that, and you're going to have to face a good team. You know, you've basically played half of those teams this year, and you're in competitive games. You outplayed LSU 2 out of 3 down there, even though you only won 1. You're competitive with Arkansas. Vandy, same deal. Auburn. I mean, all these, you had that rubber game where you just kind of got beat. I
don't know.
Texas one would be interesting because you could actually potentially play Texas your second game in Hoover as well and get. I mean, obviously the pitching matchups would be much different, but they're kind of, I'm not going to say struggling, but their Friday night guys got lit up the last 3 outings. I know.
Well,
which is kind of
it's not their Friday night guy. They lost their Friday night guy for the year.
Well, yeah, but the guy that's in there now,
the guy that stepped in, yeah, he was their best bullpen guy, and he's obviously in a different role, much tougher. They've had to stretch him out. So Texas, they're also missing Max Ballou, who's kind of their Hunter Ensley. Hits a lot of homers, but he's
he came back this week. He hit their game-winning home run in Game 1 against Oklahoma.
Oh, he's already back.
I'm sure he's not playing the field, but he actually came back this weekend.
Wow, yeah, that's big for Texas. So they're getting a little bit healthier, but they're right in the mix with everybody else. I know they got off to that hot start, but they kind of got a pretty generous schedule where they didn't really have a tough road series until they went to Arkansas and they got swept, which makes me think, Matt, do you think anybody in the SEC has ever lost 5 straight series, all of them being rubber matches? Lose 5 straight series, none of them end up in sweeps, and none of them were where you had to win the last game to not get swept. They were all Tennessee either won game 1 or 2, and you lost 5 straight rubber matches. You think that's ever been done?
I'd be stunned if that's ever happened.
I would too.
Kind of like the Braves having it was like 7 straight 1-run games like a week or two ago. Like, yeah, that's a really rare thing in a sport of parity to have rubber games like every weekend that's a very unique. And somehow Tennessee still finished above 500, which really should be pointed out. It's the 5th year in a row Tennessee's had a winning record in league play. And Tennessee went from 06 through 2019, 13 years where they weren't 500 in SEC play at all for 13 years, and they've done it 5 years in a row. So it's still a really good accomplishment where the program's at to stay above 500 in league play in a year where you've really struggled.
100%. And would be 6 in a row if 2020 was able to be played out. And the reason I can say that confidently is because the 21 team was essentially the 2020 team minus Garrett Crochet. So I think if you put that team that was the number 3 national seed that yours truly pitched for and take me out of the starting rotation and add Garrett Crochet, I think you would have been pretty good that year too. So let's go back to the phones, Matt. A couple more calls here on the TLD Logistics Hotline. This is Garza Law Extra Innings. You're on the air.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, just get back to the game. I've been in and out listening. I just thought the whole game turned on that bogus call for a ball, followed up immediately by an error that led in 2 runs. I just felt like that was the whole game. We think.
Yeah, that's when it turned. I mean, the grand slam, but that was that inning, right? So
right, that almost might never have happened.
Maybe not. It certainly was a questionable call, but this is what I say. This is what I've said, and it's a good example of this. I'm okay with kind of getting jobbed on the road, but the problem that I have is that Tennessee never gets that call at home.
Oh no,
we ain't getting that call. And that's my frustration. So, it was a Jeff Head crew. I'm not going to get riled up over that because I expected it. And that's just something that you've got to overcome because at this point, you're not going to get the better whistle. We'll call it the whistle. But you're not going to get the better calls on the road, especially not being Tennessee. But my issue is that they don't get those at home either. So I'll leave it there so I don't get riled up. But you're right. That was the turning point in the game.
Yeah, because you look at it, the guy's not on second, therefore, even on the air, he's not there to run all the way around the bases. And then it was really if he'd been on first, not second, when the guy hit the ball, it was a tailor-made double play.
That's right, brother. Tailor-made. And, it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Nope.
It could have went straight under his legs the same way, but you do feel like if he's rolling 2 there and you're not kind of deflated after the weird call, that maybe you get the double play and that changes the whole deal. Again, it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Nope.
He may not even hit it to the same spot.
Correct.
If
you don't know
things
for
are different.
sure, but I just felt.
But yeah.
I mean, the TV announcers immediately called it a bad call. Basically, What?
Yeah, they kept
I
showing the
should have
replay,
known
and I was
because
thinking,
before I could get to the TV because of the extension of the previous game at there and getting everything set up, the very first pitch, I was listening to John Wilkerson, and he pretty much said, "Oh, it's going to be something else," or something to that effect on balls and strikes today.
yeah, it was old Mr. Jeff Head back there. He's had a tough go at it trying to win my approval. He's probably not worried about me, but if he was, I'd tell him, you don't have my approval.
Yeah, I really saw a lot of those when both pitchers are throwing and the ball's kind of dropping straight down right across the middle of the plate. It just seemed to me like, depending on who it was, it's either a strike or a ball, but it seemed to be always one way. But anyhow, it's we just got, you've been around a long time because you played there, Will, for so long, but I have never, maybe I'm wrong, I can't remember this poor fielding team error making infield in particular is what I've seen in the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, they're bottom 3 in the league in fielding percentage, so it hasn't been a strength. And when they have made errors, the pitchers have not picked them up. I mean, every single time that Tennessee has made an error during the skid, it has bit them bad. And, that goes back to not playing complementary baseball. The offense isn't picking them up when they need a long inning. Pitcher needs to rest. Offense goes down quick. And, when pitchers need a little bit of help, the defense isn't taking care of them. And then when the offense needs the pitchers to get a quick inning so that they can get back in there when they have momentum, they're not giving them shutdown innings. I know it stunk that Tennessee only scored the 1 run when they had 3 hits, but you got to go out there and throw up a 0 after that because you give it away immediately and you just didn't garnish any momentum from that. Scoring first, which teams in the past would certainly do. I will say last year, the knock on that team was the defense. Right there were some question marks with Billy Amick at third. Semo was up and down defensively.
Mm-hmm.
They played horrible defensively against Florida State, but they could pull themselves out of it. And it was like, okay, we made an error. Next play. This team, it's like, okay, we made an error. We're about to give up something bad. And so, that's kind of a tough feeling to get stopped until you have a pitcher in there who's like, I'm not going to let this happen. But, yeah, certainly the game tends to go that way. A good team is just going to make you pay because when you make mistakes and open the door for them, it's kind of like a defensive holding on third down. Like you got a 3rd and 10 and they throw the ball 5 yards over the dude's head and you have a PI or maybe you held them before the ball was released. It's just a bailout. And you feel like 99% of the time after something like that, they're going to go down and score a touchdown. Now, it's not 99% of the time, and it's not 99% of the time that Tennessee gives up a run after an error, but it feels like it, and certainly is the case more often than not lately. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Well, yeah, it's just, I know we still got our chances. Nobody thought after the Braves started 0-8, they'd be on the brink of, looking like the old Braves. So
that's right.
It can happen.
Hot, cold, hot, baby.
All right, bye.
Yep, thanks so much for the call. It's a good point, Matt. The errors are not good, but they're going to happen. They're college baseball players. That's why Tony B loves college baseball, is because you really don't know what's going to happen when the ball's put in play, and that's kind of the argument for putting the ball in play is like, hey, you don't know what could happen. And so errors are to be expected, but, good teams are able to overcome those. Pitchers pick a guy up, maybe you make an error, and you make up for it at the dish the next AB, and they just haven't been able to do that. It seems like they lose momentum very quickly or certainly aren't able to take advantage of momentum when they do get it. But we'll take one more here, Matt. TLD Logistics Hotline, and then we'll wrap this baby up. Garza Law Extra Innings, you were on the air, and you were the last caller.
All right, well, I'll do my best. It's Mark in Dallas. calling from a little north of Fort Smith, Arkansas. Got to go to the series. Got to make it to a few series this year. Saw 7 wins and 5 defeats. It's always a great atmosphere in Arkansas. I echo what you were just saying, that it feels like we suddenly have a bad defense. It's just that we had that warp before, but we were always able to overcome it. But now it can be something that we can't come back from in some of these games. And the other thing I wanted to say real quick on the game is I'm sure you guys already hit on this. Man, we changed up the pitching order and we still follow the same script of winning game 1 and losing the series. Even with Doyle in a different game, we still win the first game and lose the series.
Yeah, ain't that something?
Hey, question on the regionals: is there a possibility? Because I know that it's based on geography. Once they've got the 2s and 3s and 1 sorted out, is there a possibility that we could end up on the road against a top 8? Is there anybody that's not SEC that's close enough that we go there maybe? What are you thinking?
Chapel Hill would be possible. I think it's unlikely. They typically try to tier it out to where if you're one of the higher 2 seeds, you're not going to go to, one of the higher hosting sites. So theoretically, Tennessee should be at one of the 9 through 16 if they're not a host. But you look at 2023, and I think Clemson was the 4, and Tennessee was one of the higher 2 seeds, or maybe we thought we were higher than the committee did. But I remember there being some uproar about Tennessee going to Clemson, and that was one of those ones where it was kind of more geography based. But typically they'll tier it out to where, okay, these are your top group of 2 seeds, your top group of 3 seeds, etc., and then make that decision. But I'd be lying if I said, yeah, they're definitely going to be at a 10 through 16, because that's just not the case. So we won't know until they release it. But yeah, you're right. It is possible, but I would say unlikely at this point.
Well, I bring it up. I'm curious to what you all think about this. If I'm on the road, I would definitely rather be playing against a top 8 than a 9 through 16, because it means a few things. One, it means you're not going to have to play an SEC team that's in the top 8 before Omaha. And the other thing it means is if you have to play, whether we're at home or on the road, either one, but if we are like a 14, 15, or 16, or if we're the 2 at one of those low seeds, like that means you're going to have to play one of the highest ranked teams if you make it to the second weekend, most likely anyway, not necessarily. But so it's what I'm getting at is like, if I'm going to have to play the team that's ranked, say, 4th in the country, I'd rather go there in the regional than go there in the super, because like Matt's been hammering in the regional, it often just comes down to the game between the 2 1-0 teams, because the winner gets that edge. And if I'm the underdog and I'm on the road, I want to put the chips into the center on one game versus I'd rather have to beat, a 3 seed and then have to beat North Carolina on Saturday than have to go to North Carolina or LSU or Arkansas or Texas and win 2 out of 3, personally. So I would rather get sent to Chapel Hill than get sent to Morgantown.
Matt Dixon, what do you got to say to that?
It's an interesting thought. It's really getting deep into it. I kind of like that. I think there's, especially with this team, because I just think with this team they're either going to get hot and make a deep run, or they're just going to bow out in a regional, maybe winning a game. I don't think there's really a whole lot of in between with this team. I like the caller's thinking. It's a really intriguing idea, and I think there's a lot of benefits to it.
Let me ask you this, man, before I let you go. if, let's say that does play out, that
Yeah.
means that Tennessee is still playing a 3 seed in game 1. But
That's the only
Are
hang-up
you-
thing about that.
my
I don't
question
like. 'Cause,
is,
like,
my
like,
question
if I
is,
had
are you
to-
saving
yeah,
Doyle?
sorry. Yeah, and I've been thinking the same thing Matt's been saying, that that's the advantage of hosting, that it's a lot easier to do that if we're playing a 4. Like what I was saying there a second ago, what I was trampling on your question was, 2 years ago we had a little more, probably a little more starting pitching overall. I mean, we had Drew Beam in the 3rd game 2 years ago. Like, I would rather have. Some people are gonna think this is gonna sound really dumb, but like if I had that pitching, I'd rather be playing a top 8 on the road the first weekend than be like ranked 16, because I don't want to be playing number 1 on the road in the second weekend. But with the with the pitching we have this year and the way we've been playing on the weekend this year, it probably does make a big difference for us to get to play a 4 and in the first weekend. But finally, your question. I mean, so if we're 2 versus 3, do we save them? I mean, I want whatever is the best strategy to get to 2-0. Like, I don't want whatever Coach Vitello thinks is the best strategy to get to 2-0. That's how I'd want to order it. So once he has the matchups, like if he is more afraid, I mean, I know I'm not saying he's like, you know what I mean when I say afraid. If he's more afraid of the ace pitcher on the number 3 seed than anybody the 1 seed has, then okay, use Doyle in the first game. But I would rather the strategy be what gives me the best chance to get to 2-0. I don't want the strategy to be, we might be 0-1 before Doyle throws a pitch, because we probably need to be 2-0 to be able to get through.
Yeah, 100%. That's an interesting thought, man. I appreciate the call a ton. Really, really interesting. And I think it's smart to defer to the $2 million man in Tony Vitello on whatever he thinks is best. That's certainly a good idea. Matt Dixon, any thoughts on the way out, man? This is Saturday. You've got another day on your weekend, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, Vols won't lose on Sunday this week, which is good.
Oh, God, as Tony B would say. God.
There's some encouraging things that we can take away. A few guys had some nice weekends at the plate, but the issues that this team has, I don't think are going to magically, go away in the postseason. You just have to hope that they don't ultimately end up getting you beat and ending your season. But need to win a game or 2 in Hoover, and then just kind of hope you get a good draw, and then hope this team gets hot, because they have the talent to, and they have the track record the program does. So we'll see. But another kind of I guess I didn't expect Tennessee to win the series. I guess that winning game 1 gave us some false hope that if you could win Doyle's deal, then today would have been just a freebie. But
jumped in.
Obviously, couldn't get that done. But good callers again. Once again, we have really, really good callers with some really insightful thoughts on these post game shows. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody a ton, and I really have filtered myself today and tried to be positive. So if my sweet wife is listening, I certainly hope she's proud of me. But I always want to keep it real, because that Tony B is going to keep it real on his show. He will be back with you on Monday, per usual, on all the Tony Basilio avenues, wherever you consume your Tony Basilio. That guy does it better than the rest. He is the host with the most. He says that I am, but he is. So I appreciate him letting me steal his studio for a little bit and chop it up with you guys. Tennessee baseball will be in Hoover this week. It will be playing on Wednesday. We'll find out for sure if it's going to be that Bama-Missouri game, or if everybody was confused and it ends up being the 7 seed for Tennessee. We'll figure that out here in the next couple hours, I'm sure. maybe once all the dust settles and the bracket gets posted. But everybody seems to think they're going to be the 8 seed, so we'll see where Tennessee lands when Hoover is said and done. And then come next Sunday, Tennessee will know where they are going to be for regionals, whether that's Knoxville or abroad. But we will be with you after every single game here on Garza Law Extra Innings. Please call the TLD Logistics Hotline to chop it up with me. Also, please download VIP Play. It is live. We've got college baseball. We need more action everywhere, but I love college baseball, so bet on college baseball if you think you know it. Don't bet if you don't bet. I'm not telling anybody it's a good idea. It's for entertainment purposes only. 21 and over in Tennessee to bet. Got a problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Will Heflin with you as always. Peace out. Welcome into Garza Law Extra Innings here on the Tony Basilio array of platforms. Wherever you're joining us, we appreciate you. Tennessee dropped